Welcome back to Perry's Pit on GMs for Hire. I'm Matthew Perry. With me today is Will Polston, and we have a new WWE champion. The Miz finally cashes in right at the end of Elimination Chamber after Drew McIntyre gets the victory in the chamber. He cashes in and gets the belt. The Miz is the new WWE champion. We'll get further down there with that, but we'll start at the top of the card, of course, with the Smackdown Chamber. Questionable booking here. I'll get into that after I give you the results, of course. It was King Corbin, Jey Uso, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, Sami Zayn, and Kevin Owens. Daniel Bryan, he started in the match. Him and Cesaro were the first two to start. He wound up defeating Jey Uso with the flying knee to win the chamber. This is his third chamber win. He's 3-0, I want to say. I don't think he's lost a chamber. I could be wrong on that, but I know it's his third chamber win for sure. He went the distance. It was good and competitive for most of the match. Bryan and Cesaro probably provided the best action, I want to say. Everyone else kind of fell into the middle, but Cesaro deserves that push. I mean, he's working really hard. It's hard pushing people these days with the surplus of talent that the WWE has, but Cesaro looked good. Daniel Bryan, of course, rumored to be on the final run as a full-time wrestler. He's getting what seems to be a little bit of a push, at least for now. Why was King Corbin in this? I don't think he had any place here. I know you and I were talking about it last night. Jey Uso made sense because of Roman and Owens. Daniel Bryan made sense. He's been in a lot of matches lately. He was in that gauntlet match that Reigns was in a couple weeks ago. Sami Zayn, former IC champ, he's been in the mix. Owens, obviously Uso and Reigns, he's got stuff with that. And Cesaro, kind of like Daniel Bryan, he's been in the mix as well. Everyone made sense except King Corbin. And that raised some question marks to me. I didn't see a place in there. And moving into what happened after, which is the Universal Title match between Reigns and Bryan, this booking is completely wrong. So Reigns doesn't have to fight in the chamber, unlike Drew McIntyre did for the main event. He comes out after the Elimination Chamber's up. Bryan's exhausted. He's on the ground. He can barely stand. Reigns comes out. Bryan tries the yes lock. Roman gets out of it. I don't think he even hit a spear. I could be wrong, but he finishes off with the guillotine. So Reigns retains the title via guillotine. I'm going to get your thoughts on this in a second, Will, but why wasn't Reigns in the chamber match if McIntyre had to defend in the chamber? Why not Reigns? It's basically a free spot there because Corbin doesn't need to be in there. You put Reigns in there. Then you got something going because you have Jey Uso in there. You have Kevin Owens in there. Them locked inside of something. I mean, we've seen similar things. Jey Uso and Reigns had a fight at Hell in a Cell, which is, I guess you can call it similar because you're locked inside some steel. But yeah, I mean, questionable. I was not happy seeing that. I don't think it's fair to Drew. Obviously, Reigns is the head of the table, I guess. So what he says goes. But I mean, what's the point of having officials? What's the point of having Adam Pearce or anything like that? It just didn't make much sense to me. What were your thoughts on the SmackDown Chamber and the Universal Title match that followed?
No, I'm right there with you. I mean, Roman Reigns not being in the chamber to me doesn't make any sense, especially later on whenever you have the chamber match for the WWE title and Drew McIntyre's in it. It is one of those bad booking things to where you're watching it and you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Now, I would be thoroughly shocked. Obviously we all knew going into this that Roman's going to be holding the title going into WrestleMania. I think we all know that. It's one of those things to where now and then later on we actually saw that Edge and Roman is going to probably be the match at WrestleMania. That looks like that might be official from what we got from Edge at the Chamber this past Sunday. But whenever you're sitting there watching it, if you want to promote Reigns as this big guy, the big dog, literally, if you want to promote him to be big, tough, a heel, everything like that, I mean, this got some good heat for him, because whenever we're watching it, that only pisses us off. We're sitting there watching it and we're like, why is Reigns not in this match? Why is he getting basically a free ride? Because it's not like he fought Daniel Bryan later in the card. He fought him immediately after the chamber, which doesn't make any sense in general. Of course, he's going to be exhausted. It's just like a Money in the Bank cash-in, which is fun foreshadowing. But, it didn't make any sense. I thought that this chamber match would be first and then Reigns versus the winner would be later on in the card. but it was immediately after. And I remember seeing Reigns walk out, and I was like, oh, we're doing this now. Okay, sure. Okay. I mean, it's another thing to where I was like, well, I know whoever wins isn't going to win the title. It's going to be one of those, like I said, Reigns is going to be the title holder going into Mania, but it was just confusing for me. It didn't make any sense. The booking doesn't make any sense. Somebody like King Corbin doesn't need to be as pushed as much as he is. Drop the King gimmick. Let's get back to just being Baron Corbin. Let's be the lone wolf. Maybe grow some hair. That'd be nice. That was a much cooler Baron Corbin, and now we've got what we have, and it's just weird. But the whole side of this, the whole SmackDown side of things, was just wrong. I didn't enjoy it. I feel like with Roman being in the chamber, they could set up a lot of spots, being the head of the table and having all of these problems with Jey Uso would have been led to some nice spots in the chamber. The Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns return would have been a nice spot in the chamber. Obviously, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn's a fun spot in the chamber. There's a lot for it. And whenever I was sitting here looking at the participants in the chamber, Kevin Owens has already had his run. Sami Zayn doesn't make any sense right now. Baron Corbin's a waste of a spot. And I can't recall the fourth guy I'm thinking of right off the top of my head. But whenever I was looking at it, Bryan and Cesaro, the only two people I could even think about winning this match. And I'm not surprised to see it be Bryan. And, at the end of the day, I got the winner that I expected. I figured maybe Cesaro, just because Cesaro just signed a new contract and they're trying to give him that push to make him think that he's not going to be wasted like he will be by July. But it was just weird. Not exciting. It was just kind of like I was sitting there watching at home and I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this now, I guess. So I didn't enjoy the SmackDown side of things whenever it came to the chamber and came to the title defense. I just thought that was just poorly played out.
Yeah, this is more concerning for Cesaro because you mentioned he signed a new contract. I haven't seen anything about that.
Well, maybe he didn't. I thought he did. I thought I heard something about that. But
the last thing I knew, he's in the final year of his contract and it ends at WrestleMania. So they're running out of time to make him. You want to make him stay, and I don't know if he's cool with this because besides being a tag champ more recently with Shinsuke, Sheamus, he's been several times a tag champ. He only has one singles title. It was a U.S. title, and he won it. I want to say almost 10 years ago. It's been a long time. I think he went off like John Cena, so that shows how long ago it's been. It's been at least 6 years. And yeah, I mean, Cesaro deserves better. Hopefully they give him something here that lets him stay. He's a great talent. I think he's fantastic. And I hope they do everything they can.
Here we go. Back on February 5th, 2021, Dave Meltzer reports that Cesaro has either signed or verbally agreed to a new contract with the WWE.
Oh, well, then there you go. Either way, let's push Cesaro. I think he deserves it.
He needs it.
Yeah. So following Reigns, Bryan, Reigns is celebrating, and out of nowhere, boom, Edge hits him with the spear, immediately points to the WrestleMania sign, and there you have it. As you mentioned, Will, Edge versus Reigns at WrestleMania. The WWE Twitter account has confirmed it. It's as official as it gets, depending on what you think of Twitter. But yeah, so Reigns versus Edge, spear versus spear. It's going to be exciting for sure. I'm looking forward to it. I think this was the best route they could go with their selection. I did like Edge going to each brand and kind of saying that's tempting, kind of getting his face back out there, jog everyone's memory. The Radar Superstar versus the head of the table at WrestleMania. It's going to be exciting. We move to another Bad Bunny segment, which, everyone loves Bad Bunny. He slaps The Miz, which luckily for The Miz, this is not the most important segment he's in tonight. So that's good for him. And we move forward from there. A U.S. title triple threat match. Matt Riddle, my boy, Bobby Lashley, and John Morrison. It was originally supposed to be Keith Lee and John Morrison's spot, but he was out to injury. So before, in the kickoff show, we had a fatal four-way, I believe, for that spot in the triple threat match. It was John Morrison versus Ricochet versus Elias versus Ali, I want to say.
Was it Elias? I think it was Elias.
I think it was Elias. I did not get to catch this kickoff show, but I thought it would be Ricochet. Will thought it would be Ali. It's John Morrison, who doesn't need this as much, I think. Ali's still trying to get that retribution gimmick over. Ricochet, we've said it once, we've said it 1,000 times, the most underutilized star in this business. He can do so much, so much potential.
He's at least on TV. Aleister Black's still not there.
Aleister Black, yeah. Aleister Black is still not finding TV, and neither is Andrade. But yeah, that's
definitely up there as one of the.
Yeah, he's definitely up there. But yeah, Ricochet, I guess, does not win this one, and John Morrison takes that spot. It was a good match, and I mean, it had the result I wanted. Finally, no one saw it coming. I didn't even see it coming. But we have a new U.S. champ. Riddle defeats Morrison. He pinned Morrison. Lashley does not get pinned. Riddle hit him with crutches, with MVP's crutches, who was at ringside. Lashley falls out of the ring, and Riddle hits the Broderick, pins John Morrison. 1, 2, 3. New U.S. champ. This is interesting for sure. This does nothing for John Morrison. All he was in there to do it was hit a Starship Pain and then get pinned, basically. Riddle looked good. Lashley still looked good. They didn't make him look weak at all, which we'll talk about a little later. He had a little run-in with Drew McIntyre that we'll get to. But, yeah, this could set up something nice. I do have a feeling that Keith Lee's going to come back, hopefully demanding a title shot that he didn't receive. Him and Riddle would be very good. We saw that. We've seen them before in NXT, I believe, go at it. So I expect good things out of that match if that ever happens. I wish Keith Lee the best in his recovery of his injuries. We don't know how severe they are, but if you have to miss Elimination Chamber, I guess it could have been pretty severe. What are your thoughts on the U.S. title match?
Yeah, definitely the result that blew me away. I wasn't ready for that at all. You and I were even talking. We were texting back and forth prior to the pay-per-view, and I was saying that there's no way Riddle wins this match. That Riddle was in there literally to be the guy who gets pinned or who taps or whatever the case may be. I remember telling you that he's going to tap to the Hurt Lock again. Keith Lee's going to say, hey, it wasn't me. You didn't get me. And we were going to have Lashley Lee at WrestleMania. And you thought that was a great idea. And honestly, something that could happen. And I thought that might be the match that we get. Lee, unfortunately, due to injury, has to miss the match. And now Riddle's the champ. And I'm like, well, now I'm all confused. I did not expect that at all. Definitely was not ready for that. And I'm surprised that the booking actually set it up to where they kind of pushed Riddle over in the fact that he actually hit a move and won cleanly. Sure, beating the crap out of Lashley with the crutches, so that's a little bit different. But to actually hit a finisher and to win cleanly and not be a roll up is good for Riddle. I figured if he was going to win, it would be a cheap way, and they'd kind of still make him look like a little pipsqueak. But they actually gave him a decent push. Now he's the champion, which is nice. Something we didn't expect. I know that's something that you can speak on a little bit more. I know you're a big fan of Riddle, and you've been waiting for a moment like this. So I'm glad you got your moment. I'm glad Riddle got his moment. And I'm just interested to see from what happened later on in the pay-per-view, what Lashley's going to do now. I'm more excited for what Lashley's going to do, maybe just because I'm an older fan and I got to see Lashley in his first time. I've thought they've always underutilized Lashley. Even as a mid-card guy, it just doesn't seem right. He's got the build for it. Sure, he doesn't have the mic skills, but I think somebody like him would benefit so much from being a Paul Heyman guy or having a manager walk around, do the talking for him. So like MVP. Yeah, MVP was brilliant. MVP can sit there, cut the promo, do all that. Can't wrestle for a lick, but I tell you what, like he can sit there and talk Lashley up, and that's big. And so to see him being utilized that way, I think they're using Lashley right. I think John Morrison was just there just to be there. And Riddle, congrats. I mean, I really wasn't ready for that. Really shocked to see him holding a title going into Mania. And so I know you're happy, and I'm going to be happy if they use Lashley right after this. So
yeah, a few notes on that. Yeah, Riddle time. I'm definitely happy about that. Hopefully now that he's champ, they start taking him more seriously. I don't like the stoner gimmick or whatever you want to call this that's happening now. He has an MMA background, and we've seen how that benefits people like Jack Swagger, like Brock Lesnar, like Ronda Rousey, like Shayna Baszler. It can really benefit somebody and make them look like a big deal because they have actual fighting experience. But Riddle knows how to, I guess, have fun. So they took advantage of that instead, and it's been okay. But I'm glad it's Riddle time, at least for the U.S. title. Lee versus Lashley would have been really exciting. Two big boys slapping meat, always a good time. Hopefully we'll see them further down the road. We never know what's going to happen with Keith Lee. He's had an interesting run on the main roster, to say the least. But yeah, Lashley is great with the managers as MVP, and thinking that he has never won the WWE title or something of that caliber is kind of shocking. I mean, I guess you could say the closest he got was the ECW title, if you count that as anything really elite. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really.
I put the United States title as more meaningful than
Well, then there you go. I mean, that says even more. Then with all the time Lashley
so
spent on the main roster, the most he's gotten is the U.S. title. So hopefully this leads to something bigger. We'll talk more about Lashley towards the end, but we'll move forward to the women's tag title match between Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair. They took on Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, the champs. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't think Nia and Shayna are exciting, and I don't think Sasha and Bianca should be together. I hate tag teams like this. They've been doing it way too much lately, and it's pointless. You have a lot of talent here in the WWE, so let's get some more formidable teams going, some actual teams, not just two girls that say, "Hey, let's fight these guys," and then they do it. I'll say it straight up. Nia and Shayna do retain, but we knew this was going to happen because if you watched NXT last week, Nia and Shayna came out to talk to the women's Dusty Cup champs, which are Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai. They cut promos back and forth, and they were set to have a title match, which is what the winner of the Dusty Cup gets, on Raw or NXT next week or something like that. So we knew that they were going to be there, Nia and Shayna, to defend the title 2 weeks after the Elimination Chamber. So just off that ad alone, you should be able to tell that they were going to retain. You don't mess with, I guess, advertisements or promos, what have you. Obviously, Sasha and Bianca looked good, but then Reginald came out with a little bit of the bubbly to offer to Shayna, offer to Sasha, and Sasha gets distracted. The ref sees her with the bottle of champagne, takes it away. Nia hits her, goes Samoan drop, and 1, 2, 3. Shayna and Nia retain. Not the best match. We've seen better out of both Sasha and Bianca. I don't know what's going on with Reginald here. And he looked genuinely upset after. I can't tell if he's doing this to get revenge for Sasha beating Carmella. But in the end, none of this matters because Bianca won the Royal Rumble. And it looks like Sasha and Bianca will happen at WrestleMania. But right now they're tag partners. So Sasha's the heel, at least more than Bianca is. So is Sasha going to turn on Bianca? I'm guessing so. We've yet to see that. Obviously, we still have a little bit of time before that happens, but that's how I see it panning out. What were your thoughts on all this?
This is so stupid. The fact that we have the Riot Squad, the fact that we have Kai and Gonzalez, we have the Iconics, we have tag teams. What are we doing putting together two random women's wrestlers and just calling it a tag team? Like, we understand Sasha currently holds the title, correct? She holds the SmackDown women's title. And so Bianca Belair has to go up against somebody. She's not going to go up against Asuka. That doesn't make sense. Like, for some reason, I don't know why it doesn't make sense, but when you're sitting there reading it,
and Bianca's on SmackDown already.
That helps, that also why it doesn't make sense. But whenever you're sitting there reading the booking, like, it doesn't make sense. Bianca versus Asuka, I don't know why, it just doesn't ring right. Like, Bianca and Sasha makes way more sense. This was our prediction, you and I, after the WrestleMania or after the Royal Rumble, to where you and I figured it was Sasha and Bianca. And to see them tag team for the titles doesn't make any sense. I guess it's a way to kind of make the storyline better later on, but at the same time, people watching this, we know that they aren't a tag team. Like, it's just all of a sudden they threw them together. It's like when Lana and Naomi won the number one contender spot. What is that? Again, and they were against Charlotte and Asuka, who is another tag team that's just been put together. And what was the other one? What is it, like Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose?
I mean, they're closer to an actual tag team than any of these. I don't think any, because we just saw that with Sasha and Bayley. They held the titles for a while, and Bayley was the SmackDown Women's Champion.
Right.
I don't see why, with how big the women's division is. The WWE women's division is the best in the world. No women's division, any other company touches the WWE's, and they're signing all this talent, so much in NXT. They just signed like I think 14 new people at NXT, or at least the Performance Center last week. They announced that on Takeover. There's so much. There's so many people to work with. Why does a SmackDown or Raw women's champ like Sasha have to be in a tag team and hold a tag title? We saw Asuka did it. Bailey was a double champ. It's ridiculous, and it doesn't put new people over. It doesn't bring new people to the women's division. It doesn't put new eyes on anybody. It's repetitive. There's no reason to put a tag belt on someone like Sasha who's holding that kind of championship when you have all these people. I know we've seen it before in the men's too, but typically not with the WWE title. It's maybe, I know when Jericho was a thing, and Jericho was the IC champ and the tag champ, and that's a little more acceptable. When you're holding the highest accolade, the highest whatever in the women's division, you don't need the tag belt. I mean,
no, and it doesn't make sense. It's just bad booking. Like, why are we doing this? Why is the person who should be concerned about a singles run also jumping into the tag division? And then why are you having, I mean, the whole point of being the champion, the singles champion, is that you're the top dog. You're the number one person in this division right now. Why are you losing? Why are you, and then it kind of like negates a little bit of the like the prestige of the solos title, because now you can't win a tag match. Well, why can't you win a tag match? You mean to tell me that Sasha Banks, who's the head dog on SmackDown, and Bianca Belair, the winner of the Women's Royal Rumble, couldn't defeat Nia and Shayna? Like, I'm sorry, but it could. Everybody knows that Nia is she's just there because she's big. Like, she sucks. She's terrible.
She's a liability in the ring.
She is horrible. She is so bad. Like, and the only reason she gets pushed over is because of her size. Whenever you're going up against somebody the size of Alexa Bliss, and you're looking at somebody like Nia Jax in a real life fight, who's going to win, or at least you'd imagine. It's a pain. It's stupid. It's dumb. Nia's a pain to watch in the ring. Shayna is carrying Nia Jax, which is impressive. And then the tag teams, they're not really tag teams. It's just the tag division right now for the women is just, it's lacking. It's terrible. They have so many right ways they could go about it, and they avoid it week in and week out. This match was just, it was a bathroom break for me. And the women's division is typically not a bathroom break. The women's have been doing very well. And like the Women's Royal Rumble, you and I spoke very highly of that. We thought it was the best match at Royal Rumble. And this was probably, minus Bryan Reigns, this was probably the worst match. It was just dumb. And then the fact that it even ends stupid at the end, like, it's not worth the time. It was just a pain to watch. It was pointless.
Yeah, the women's tag division is definitely something that the WWE needs to work on. They need to work on a lot of things, but the women's tag division is one of them. We'll move to the main event of the evening, the WWE title match inside the Elimination Chamber, how it should be. Drew McIntyre, Jeff Hardy, Kofi Kingston, Sheamus, Randy Orton, and AJ Styles. Star-studded affair here. All former WWE champions, which I thought was cool. Some questionable moments here. Almost freeing Styles from the pod, breaking him out the back for him to come in the front. Stupid, not necessary. Don't see the point in that, except I guess giving almost something to do. They tried building Drew McIntyre and Sheamus won the gauntlet match to come in last for this exact reason. WWE has completely fallen off with long-term storytelling. It's hard to follow Drew and Sheamus because they were friends, and then he brogue kicked him, he claymored him, and it's like, oh, they're just brothers who fight, and then now it's something legitimate, but none of it mattered because AJ Styles eliminated Sheamus. I don't know. I've run out of answers for a lot of the things WWE does. Orton got some good RKOs in. I wasn't really impressed with Kofi. Jeff got to hit a swanton, which I guess was what he was there for, and he didn't get eliminated first. So it's the small victories There you go. It's the small victories. But I mean, we knew this was going to happen. Drew McIntyre wins. He retains the title via the Claymore. He winds up pinning Styles, I want to say. Midair too. Now I remember. He was
It was
going
a nice claim.
Yeah, he was going for the phenomenal forearm. AJ Styles was, and then Drew McIntyre, boom. Claymore 1, 2, 3 retains the title. Good finish. I like that. I just think the storytelling between Sheamus and Drew was really bad. It didn't really show as much here. Before I get into the affairs that come after the match, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, this was probably my match of the night. If I had to think, I mean, there wasn't too many matches. It was a smaller card, but because of the chambers. But this was honestly probably the more entertaining match. This was by far made the most sense when it came to booking and everything like that. I didn't really see anybody winning this match other than Drew. It was something that I thought Drew was going to go into Mania with the belt. And he still might be, I mean, we've got a couple of shows in between, so it still could happen. There was nobody in this match that I was sitting there going, oh yeah, they could totally win the title. Otherwise it just didn't make sense. For some reason, Omos or whatever his name is, has completely killed AJ Styles. AJ just doesn't even wrestle anymore. It's like annoying. It's like AJ Styles is one of the best to ever do it. And across all platforms, he's succeeded at everywhere he's gone. And now this is just, I don't know if this is supposed to get him heel heat. I don't know what Omos is supposed to do there. It's just dumb. Like, it doesn't make any sense. AJ's not the guy who needs somebody with him. I just don't get that booking. The Sheamus Drew is being kind of drawn out. We added fuel to that fire. Sure, what have you. But then, like you said, long-term booking, AJ ends up pinning Sheamus, and then a completely new rivalry comes out after the match. And it's just, it kind of kills that booking. Shout out, Jeff. Glad you got to be there. You did exactly what I thought you would do. Kofi, like you said, nothing crazy, but he was a fill-in for the match to fill in for Miz, which, yeah. And then what else? I mean, other than that, it was just kind of like it was exactly what I expected. There were some good spots. We got to see Kofi jump into everybody. We got to see a swanton hit from Jeff. Nothing crazy, no psycho spot that I was like, I remember there was a chamber that Jeff was in where he climbed literally to the middle of the chamber and then just like fell onto everybody. That was a cool spot. I know Jeff's getting older, but I mean, Kofi can be there to do stuff like that. He jumped off the pod, which was cool, but we got the normal chamber spots, nothing crazy. Just an all right match, really. Like I said, got the result I expected, and it was probably the more entertaining match of all of them tonight. So it was decent, nothing crazy, just a good chamber match.
Yeah, if this Styles almost thing is supposed to get him heel heat, it's not working. No. I hardly even think of Styles as a heel. He's more dumb. Somewhere in the middle for me. I know people really like Almost, but it almost feels like he's taking the attention away from Styles, which I don't like. I don't like when a manager takes away, or a manager, whatever he is, bodyguard, I don't know, takes away attention from the actual wrestler. Like when Paul Heyman does it, he's not taking attention away, he's adding attention to it because he can talk. Almost doesn't talk, so I don't even want to call him a manager.
That's the thing, is that they book Paul Heyman right. They book Paul Heyman with people who aren't good on the mic. He runs around with Brock Lesnar, who we never hear talk. He ran around with Roman Reigns, who was abysmal on the mic whenever he was with the Shield.
He's gotten a lot better, though. He has
gotten better. He's definitely improved. He needs to be a heel. There's no reason he's ever a face.
Yeah, he's a really good heel. But I don't need him as a face ever again, because then it feels like a John Cena kind of thing almost.
Right.
John Cena's a good face.
John Cena's a great face, but no matter where you go, he's gonna get heel heat. Like it's always. They dubbed his song to say John Cena sucks. I mean, everybody, you love to hate him. And then everybody loves to hate Roman. Nobody likes Roman. There's nobody, any consistent WWE fan, I don't know how many just sit there and like, yeah, Roman Reigns is my guy. Like, he's boring. And then now he's gotten better on the mic, and he's so much better as a heel. And as a Paul Heyman guy, that's probably some of the best booking they've done in a very long time. But almost doesn't make sense with AJ. AJ's good on the mic. AJ's a good wrestler, a great, phenomenal wrestler. That's why he's the phenomenal one. He's amazing. There's no reason for him to have somebody else, and almost adds nothing. It's just, he, like you said, he doesn't talk. He doesn't add anything to it. He's just a brute force. And then he gets ejected from ringside, even though it's inside a chamber. It just, I don't understand. Like, is this guy even a wrestler? Is he going to turn on AJ at a point? Like, why are you here? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. But yeah, I don't get Omos at all. I don't understand it.
Yeah, if you asked me why Styles needs Omos, I wouldn't have an answer for you,
No.
in all honesty. But we'll move to after the match. Drew's there. They lift up the pod. Drew celebrates his victory, kind of how Roman did. I mean, how Bryan forget that. Lashley comes out after Drew is celebrating his WWE title victory and attacks him. And nothing is really explained here, but I like what I saw. He comes out, kicks Drew's ass. I mean, really gives it to him. And you think that's the end, and it's going to push a Lashley Drew thing. Bang, here comes
awesome.
Exactly. The Miz comes in and finally cashes in his Money in the Bank, hits him with a DDT, which Drew kicks out of, and then goes right back. Skull crushing finale, gets the 1, 2, 3. The Miz is the new WWE champion for the first time in over 10 years. The Miz is also I saw this on Twitter, he's the first 2-time Triple Crown champ, meaning he's held the WWE title, tag titles, US, and IC, all 2 or more times, which is very impressive. First person to do that. Yeah, and new champ, definitely not something we thought we'd see. This was down the list of things I thought we'd see last night. But yeah, what are your we don't know how long this will last either, obviously, because we don't know how reliable The Miz is as a champion, especially going against guys like Lashley and The Miz. Where do you think this goes from here?
With the Bad Bunny feud and everything that's going on right now, Miz doesn't sit with me as a WWE champion. I can imagine this isn't going to be a long-term thing. For me, as soon as Lashley came out, I was like, Lashley McIntyre. I love this. This is a good match, and I could use that. Like, I can get behind that. And as soon as Lashley came out, I knew Miz was coming out. I didn't, because I remember sitting there going like, when is Miz going to cash this in? Like, when is it going to happen? And because I was just so confused why he had it of all people. And then Lashley comes out, beats the crap out of him, like you said. And I was like, oh, Miz is coming. Miz is here. It comes. And then Lashley was just standing there over him. And then it switched cameras to the ramp. And then you heard the awesome. And I'm like, oh, here we go. Okay, this is perfect timing. And I, for some reason, expected Drew to win. I really did. I don't know why. Even though he had just been beating the crap out of, I expected him to like get hit with the skull crushing finale, kick out of it, and he was going to pick him up again for it, or some other move, and then he was just going to get Claymored, and that was going to be the end. Not the case, which is interesting. I'm surprised they had Drew lose it. I still think the belt will be on one of those 2 men going into Mania, whether it be Lashley or be McIntyre. I still think he's going to lose it on an episode of Raw, maybe even tonight as we're recording it. We are recording this on Monday. Could see that happening today. Could see that happening down the road right before Mania. Whatever the case may be, I don't think we'll have Miz be the headline of Mania. Like, I just don't. It doesn't sit right, especially now there's going to be fans. You know, we've talked about before off camera, Drew not having his Mania moment because it was all virtual last year and everything like that. This could be the moment for Drew to finally get, or maybe they're done with Drew. You know, we don't really know. I doubt it. I still feel like Drew needs his moment. He's still a top of the card kind of guy. But maybe this is their way of pushing Lashley. I don't know what exactly their plans are. It's going to be interesting. I think tonight's Raw is going to have a lot of answers, or a lot of questions answered. And I think this is going to be an important Raw to watch. But Miz WWE champion, it doesn't sound right. It doesn't feel right. And like you said, I don't think it'll be long. I think somebody else will have that. And maybe we see Miz in a WWE Championship match at Mania, but right now with the storylines and the way they're booking him with Bad Bunny and Damian Priest and he still tag teams with John Morrison, it's just, It doesn't feel right. And so I feel like this is just going to be a temporary thing. If he goes into Mania with the belt, I'm going to be mad. Like, I'm going to be furious. Like, there's no reason, because then we know Bad Bunny is going to get involved in a WWE title match, and it's going to be stupid. That can happen on Raw. That can't happen at Mania. So I'll be interested to see if he loses it because Bad Bunny gets involved at a Raw match. I'll be fine. Like, I'm okay with that. But if you take the mecca of wrestling and Bad Bunny is the reason your champion loses this, you're not going to see me on another Perry's Pit. It's going to be so stupid. Or I'm going to turn a Perry Pit into a Red Rage episode real quick. So I'll be interested to see what they do with the title. Not surprised after seeing Lashley beat the crap out of him that Miz came out, but I am surprised in general that Miz won. I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I don't see this lasting that long. And remember that there is a rumor that we will see Bad Bunny and Damian Priest tag team against Miz and Morrison at WrestleMania.
Right.
That was the most recent rumor. So if the Miz loses, and I'm guessing he's going to lose to Lashley, this is how I see it playing out. Lashley is obviously upset that the Miz took advantage of Lashley's, I guess, opportunity, because Lashley kicked his ass. He set it up. The Miz would not have won, arguably, if not for Lashley coming out and kicking Drew's ass. So Lashley is mad, takes it out on the Miz. Lashley wins the title from the Miz. Drew comes back, and Drew's still here. He has what he's done this year, and doing it all in a pandemic. Getting over in a pandemic is not easy. You got no crowd. It's tougher conditions.
He's done phenomenal.
He's been absolutely fantastic, and he has cemented himself as a main eventer for the next 20 years, as barring anything out of the ordinary, a Chris Benoit moment or something crazy. But I hope Drew McIntyre does not.
I hope not.
Yeah, I hope that doesn't happen.
For everybody in that matter, not just Drew.
Drew should be here for a long time.
The only way Aleister Black's going to get back on TV.
Yeah, need Aleister Black up there with Drew. And that would be have Aleister Black win Money in the Bank. That would be something. Him or Ricochet, either one of them would be so cool as a Money in the Bank.
If all of a sudden somebody just comes out of nowhere and gets black masked, I'm in for it.
Exactly. See, we need more black masks. But moving back on Miz, I mean, I don't mind him as a champion. Like he's been here so long. It's like if Dolph Ziggler was the champ. Like I wouldn't mind it. They've earned it.
It's just like when they gave Kofi the champ.
Exactly.
Long enough. You know?
Exactly. I think Miz is still a good heel, and he's still good in the ring. He's not hurting anybody out there. So this is fine. I am interested to see how Lashley and McIntyre come back from this. Definitely a lot of questions asked, and hopefully some answered tonight on Raw. But overall, the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view was okay. I don't think it was as good as the Royal Rumble. I mean, obviously the Royal Rumble, I'm a bigger Royal Rumble match fan than Chamber matches, and having a pay-per-view only 2 months from WrestleMania is always weird because you do feel like they're going to retain most of the time. So the Miz cashing in was definitely an eyebrow raiser, and that's probably the most interesting thing going on right now. That probably passes Edge's selection of Roman, which we'll hear about on Friday on SmackDown. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see where we go from here. Stay with us. Stay with GMs for Hire for all your WWE updates and stuff. We'll be back with answers probably on Lashley and the WWE title. And then on Wednesday, we will find out from Adam Cole. He's set to cut a promo on NXT and give us some answers as to why he turned on Kyle O'Reilly and the Undisputed Era. But for now, for Will Polston, I've been Matthew Perry for Perry's Pit, GMs for Hire. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you.